From deep in the heart of Central Texas, it's the Best of the Outdoors podcast with Dustin Vaughn Warncke. Brought to you by Grim Reaper Broadheads. Watch them drop. Gold Tip, the toughest arrow you'll ever shoot. Gilly Monster Outdoors and Vapor Trail Outdoors. World-class hunting and fishing products. Striper Express. With Bill and Chris Carey on Lake Texoma. Vineyard Max Deer Products. And Warncke Enterprises, your full-stack digital and media production marketing agency with a specialty in the outdoors.
Welcome to the Best of the Outdoors podcast. It's your humble host, Dustin Vaughn Warncke, back here again with another episode. Here with Troy Fowler. Introduce yourself, Troy.
I'm a really old guy.
You look cool with the hat. I'm wearing a beanie, if you can see this on camera, and then he's wearing. Is that kind of like a golf? The whole
That's
golf
the visor thing.
Visor. That's what I'm saying. But it's a really cool visor. It says Ranch Fairy on there.
Right. So I have a presence in the bow hunting space, researching the most lethal arrow systems, no matter what the arrow hits.
Mm-hmm.
Bones, humerus, break scapulas, etc. With my objective is 100% pass-through rate.
Wonderful. So
The
get an
arrow should
entry and an outro.
The arrows should go in the dirt.
Yep. Entry and exit hole. And, you know, like I said, the arrow should, so you can read the arrow for the sign of what kind of hit you had, right?
There's a lot of different.
I'm an old school bow hunter, man. I go
Right.
back 20 years starting to bow
Yeah.
hunt. So like I said, I'm more into crossbows now because I had a neck injury. I had a drunk driver hit me back in 2024, I guess it was.
Mm-hmm.
I had just taken my son to Topgolf for an event with a company I was director of marketing for there in a hybrid role. And we had a blast just knocking golf balls.
Sure.
I mean, that's a cool Topgolf.
Of course you aim at the guy picking up golf balls. Everybody does.
Duh. I mean, yeah, doesn't I thought it was just me, but yeah, now that you mention that. And it's the carts. Like they have these lawnmower things at this Topgolf. It's like a giant space of like 4 different levels.
Sure.
And I'm not a big golfer guy, but I mean, the thing is they have electronic screens, like monitors, and you then, you get to see where you hit. It monitors the stream of the golf ball as it hits, and then you get a score based on if you hit one of the target areas.
Yeah, it's
or
TrackMan or something like that.
kind of like 3D hunting, I often equate to golf because you're shooting for a score, and it's like golf because you have to judge the range. And I was part of Hill Country Bow Hunters, which is a 3D club in the Seward Junction, Liberty Hill area by where I live in Central Texas. So tell us some more.
I've probably shot out there years ago. I don't shoot foam anymore.
Yeah. Where do you live again?
I live in Cedar Park.
Oh my gosh, we got to get together, bro.
Okay, yeah.
I didn't realize I had a neighbor here. So I live in Sandy Creek Ranches, that area that flooded the same time that Kerrville flooded. Flash flood, they had cadaver dogs down there. This is real life, folks. Cadaver dogs searching for bodies half a mile down the road from where I live. How blessed am I that I live on a property that did not get affected. I just happen to live uphill. It was a dry creek bed, still is now after all that happened. But I drive a Kia Soul now. So there's a Toyota Scion XB, which is just similar to a Scion XB that was down there for 2 months. I guess whoever was in there was out of there. It just got swam down.
Water's pretty amazing.
Unbelievable how here, like in Kerrville, in that area, and then in Sandy Creek Ranches, the flash flood that took out that whole girls' camp, Christian girls' camp, and killed, so many people. And it's just like, but it came out of nowhere. Nobody expected that.
It happened in '87 as well. So when I was in high school, it happened, and they were evacuating, and the water hit the bus going across the bridge.
Oh my gosh!
I mean, the
on a low water crossing.
We could have been
right?
a minute earlier or a minute later, and that would have never occurred.
Yeah.
Right. So that flooding is unfortunate, but it's about a 20-year event.
Yeah.
It ain't gonna stop.
And really, I remember my parents tell me about the flood of '71. Let's see here. My first year of college, I met my then wife, as a girlfriend, cleaning up the flood of 1998. And that was all in New Braunfels where I grew up, born and raised. And I was a unicorn, and then I was a bulldog. I went to Texas Lutheran University.
So I grew up in Bernie.
Oh, cool.
Graduated as a Greyhound.
I just went through Blanco the other day, going to New Braunfels, where to stay with my friend before I drove here.
So I've made many trips on 46 for games and stuff with you guys with the unicorn.
46 or 725 is the other way I got to college from home, but I would live at college, even though I lived 30 minutes away from home.
We got to see Shaq in high school because he was at Converse.
Oh, I forgot that Shaq was from. Oh my god!
Because his dad was in the military. Shaq was at Converse. We got to watch him kick our ass in high school.
All right, since we're going to use a little bit of profanity here, Shaq, you're damn right. I got the low going on in my mixer here. You're damn right. Anyway, you remember that? Shaq, who's the man that throws the ball? Whatever it was, I thought it was hilarious. Well, I'm going to have Chester Moore on later, so this is even better for me because I get to amp up for that podcast. I have all these baits and everything over here. A lot of this I'm going to donate to his ministry for Wild Wishes when he grants kids outdoor experiences. He's done over 300 of them. Trying to line up a ram hunt in the hill country. We hunted between Fredericksburg and Llano on a ranch I sell hunts for. I've got hunters I got to respond to just want more info. Aoudad hunts. It's a free range, so I can always hook you up with just a local area hunt. You probably don't want to shoot an aoudad because, I need
test animals.
Well, that would be a good one for, hogs,
I've got that. I'd like to get some ewes of some.
Okay, some ewes.
Just to shoot, like,
arrow
A, arrow
Aoudad
B,
ewes
arrow
would be
C.
good, or like, hair sheep. So just so people understand wildlife here, all right, Aoudad, which in the wild sheep community, which we are well amongst here, are not even considered sheep. They're considered barbaries. Okay, that's how they call them in the Wild Sheep Foundation at the sheep show and places like that. I didn't know that until I showed up here last year, and I realized one of the things that I'm well known for that I don't want to be remembered for. So in my eulogy, it says the word deer trader for exotic deer trader should not be used
for the barbaries.
Yeah, well, let's just say barbaries too. Any kind of exotic animal. Okay, I was an exotic animal trader for like 10 years. It's like day trading. Okay, you look at the market of the auction sites, you base your pricing accordingly, and to the winner. And the market demand outweighs the supply in that world. It's the most interesting business model, and it's all an underground deal. We list things on Facebook, but we have to get past Facebook's community standards. So we say in the barn, and that means they're for sale, but they're not for sale. You know what I'm saying? Facebook doesn't catch that algorithm. So I've done that since, 2006, I've been into. So I guess a better part of 20 years, 10 years really hitting it hard. During COVID, we were moving trailers of probably three $20,000 trailer loads a week off of axis deer that were so plentiful. The freeze of 2021 came, and this is relative to Texas, which I know this podcast is based in Texas and started in Texas, but there were so many, and then the freeze came and it messed up the whole market.
Yeah.
Everything went stupid high, and things have never really recovered. It's been like the Bitcoin market. It's up one day, down the next. It's up 1 hour, down the next. That's how digital currency works, cryptocurrency. So it is such the reason I don't want to be remembered. I've already written my eulogy. Okay, so my end of life. I think everybody should write their own eulogy, so nobody else has to scramble to write one when you're dead. Right. So that's part of the Stoic in me. Paul and I both study. Paul Fazinski and I both study. I found out recently that he follows Stoicism. So memento mori, memento vivere, and memento mori. Remember that you must die. Remember that you must live. Remember that you must love. And those are all Latin, Latin
Have you
phrases.
read the book about Marcus
Yes.
Aurelius?
So there's books about him. There are books and again, he wrote all that stuff privately. Okay.
Right, of course.
And he didn't expect I'm sure, posthumously after he was dead, for this to become. These were kind of his private writings. But what was his main book that he was Marcus Aurelius? So he was just so the listeners understand.
I just
what we're
read
talking
my
about.
first Marcus Aurelius book, and I do not. It was somebody writing about him writing.
Yeah, okay. So this is his actual
direct.
writings that I was writing. But the thing is, so I'm going to give you another one that I talked about on another podcast, okay? And that is same kind of line of Marcus Aurelius. And that was, trying to think here. Oh, Alexander the Great, okay? Had 3 funeral wishes. Those 3 wishes were as follows, okay? I want the best doctors in the entire kingdom of Babylon and beyond to carry my coffin. He says, I want all of the riches and gold that I've ever earned to be scattered behind my casket as the doctors are carrying me. And number 3, I want my hands to be out of the casket like this, like out like this. And somebody was brave enough to ask him, well, Alexander the Great, why do you want this done? And he says, I want the doctors to carry me because no matter the best medical care you can have,
Everybody dies.
You can't cheat death. Mm-hmm. Yeah, everybody dies. Number 2, I want all of my wealth that I have amassed to be scattered in the streets to remind people that the wealth that is gained here stays here. Okay, all riches and material wealth stays right here. And number 3, and this is the kicker, I want my hands buried out here open so people realize that you came into this world with nothing and that you will leave this world with nothing. Very similar to Paul and Timothy.
Right.
Paul writing the letter to Timothy in the New Testament talking about you came into this world with nothing, you will depart this world with nothing.
That's right.
So what matters? What matters in the Stoicism mindset and the Stoicism philosophy is make every day count. Like you've got to make today count. You don't know what tomorrow holds or if there will be a tomorrow. You may wake up and you're in another dimension. You're in heaven. You're somewhere else. But you will not live here forever. That's one reason why I think about legacy. When I talk about legacy, it's about taking the passion that we have as the fathers of conservation, okay, and passing it down to the next generation. So we affect generations that aren't even born yet. We affect generations
100%.
Of generations. If the world does not catch on fire and completely burn, to the ground, we've got a fighting chance for, like Chester's favorite saying, Christ, kids, and critters. The kids being the next generation, Christ being, the belief system, and critters being all of our wildlife we're trying to conserve and preserve hunting and conserve hunting for the next generation. And I'm an archery guy like you are. Like you understand. And I understand, a lot of people know that this podcast, or the bumper to it at least, is sponsored by Grim Reaper. And so that's because I'm pro staff with them, also sponsored by Gold Tip. So those are my 2 brands that I've used, but I believe they're some of the best brands as far as broadheads and everything like that go. But like I said, I learn something new every day. So I want you, go ahead. You rock it, Mr. Respiratory Therapist. I love the background that you have. I love the studies that you've told me you did before we started. Shoot.
Okay. So, brief history. By sheer accident, I decided I was going to be a respiratory therapist. By sheer accident, our school had a PT department that they didn't mess with the cardiovascular system. They were muscle, tendon people.
Physical therapy stuff. PT standing for physical therapy. Right.
When your knee explodes, you don't need, your heart and lungs are working. They need to fix your knee. So we got the opportunity to split the sternum on humans.
Cadavers. So you're talking about, humans that have donated their bodies to science.
And
my aunt, one of my great aunts, wanted to donate her body to science specifically.
I checked the box. You can have it.
I think that's great. I'll donate all my organs. I think it's on your driver's license already. You just have to go to the donor coordinate. It's part of renewing your license. 100%. And I'm like, heck yeah, I want to be donated. Like, what are you going to do? Your body is worn out. It has ceased its purpose.
That would be awesome.
I'm talking a Cheshire cat grin is what I'm talking about.
That would be fantastic.
Oh, dude.
Or buck teeth or something.
That's what I'm saying, man.
So
all right, roll.
That was an accident, and didn't know that I was going to fast forward 25 years and need that. I took multiple tests where they had spreaders in the sternum, the chest is open, and the heart and lungs are visible, and there's just pins with numbers, and you got a piece of paper with numbers on it. Not multiple guess. You had to know the data.
For sure. This is like real deal accuracy is everything.
From big pieces like lobes of the lungs to arteries and stuff. Aortic arch, pulmonary vessels, all that good stuff. So,
and pulmonary is lungs, heart, that area of the region, right? Pulmonary being the
cardio is the heart.
The
pulmonary
heart,
is the lungs.
So pulmonary is the lungs. Okay,
That's
I was just trying to make sure our guests understood all that.
And essentially, on game animals, which are not standing on their hind legs, they're standing on all 4, the lungs envelop the heart to some level. So it's possible to hit all of it if you shoot them in the right place.
Yep.
So
keep going.
Just
taking pictures.
I killed a Pope and Young deer in 2008. I don't really care to kill another deer.
Okay.
I took my sons hunting and all that stuff, but I've never lost the love of shooting intentionally hunting big feral hogs, not just sitting at the feeder shooting what comes in, but looking for bigger ones, like people who whitetail hunt for big ones.
Yep.
I start to see one that's what I think is 200 over. We don't have any big ones. We don't have
sows or boars, right? When it comes to,
I don't care. I just want the.
And it doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter the antlers in that case, right? I've always said you can't eat the antlers anyway.
What you're actually the game you're playing is you're against the most mature ones. They're 5 to 7
because they're
years
closest
old.
to humans, or they're
no.
Oh, it's just a case study. I see. What
They've
you're
just
saying.
been around the most, so they're not easy to get in front of you.
You're right. Especially the boars. They like to stay back and let all the smaller pigs eat all the corn before they come out, or not at all. Yeah.
Right. They know somebody's going to get shot, right? So at one time, using standard arrow platforms, everything I could find on pigs over 200 pounds, that was 50% recovery. The arrows were going in, and I was just not finding them.
Yeah.
There are some physiological things going on with those bigger pigs that is incredible. Their rib cage is like a bulletproof barrier.
Yeah.
They got the shield. They're thick. They don't like dying.
No, they don't go down without a good fight when it
So I was
comes to
shooting
trying to stay alive.
70 pounds and like a gold tip or whatever. And I shot every broadhead that was made. I thought that was the solution. 420, 25 grain arrows.
I started with Spitfires and Muzzies. So, yeah, you know all the brands, but I'm just saying I've shot just about every one of them, too. A lot of bow hunters have, too, but a lot of them have tried and true like I do.
And it was frustrating because I was getting an arrow in them.
Yeah.
Looking back, and then I'll tell you what I did. Looking back, I believe I was losing many of them after studying them and cutting them and doing necropsies on my channel. I think the blades were being eroded, dulled by impact to the point that they were not effective once they entered the chest cavity.
Right.
Mud, their hair is horrible. By cleaning one, they eat knives. They're horrible to clean.
Well, you can't get through one without having to sharpen. At least a big bore is without having to sharpen the knife at the end of your cleaning.
Of course.
I mean, and I hunt with buck knives and like all kinds of Kershaws, all kinds of different, knives that I use for skinning and cleaning. And it's just like, yeah, they'll still dull out even the best, sharpest blade, even a razor blade.
I only kind of figured that out. I found that out failing into it and going, what's the problem? And I believe the first thing was for some of those losses, when I didn't make a bad shot or shoot them in the shoulder blade and they stopped, right? Those aside, where I got a half an arrow in them. Because they're not very wide.
Right.
I think the blades were dulling to the point that they were really ineffective once they got inside.
Oh, because of the pass
At
in,
impact.
in impact. Okay. Whether it's mechanical or a fixed blade.
Right. It's going 275, 80 feet per second, slams into mud, slams into the hair, hits the rib cage, and that erosion is what I call it, blade erosion.
I never thought of that, man. The fact that the blades are dulling on the impact in the entry
they're
wound.
hauling ass.
Yeah. And I remember a lot of people that shoot Grim Reapers will tell you if you don't get a pass through, especially on a big hog, because I'd watch, some of the other guys did TV shows like I did that, if they get in there, those blades then, because they're mechanical and move, will work on the pulmonary system, the lungs or the heart or whatever. I can see now from what you've just told me about what you have studied, how that could not be true.
So that's one of the greatest wives' tales on the planet Earth. Take your mechanical bro. If you think that's occurring, I was on John Dudley's podcast, and John Dudley told me, I prefer to shoot a mechanical, and I prefer it not to penetrate all the way through because I want the blades in there whipping around like a blender. Guess what?
It doesn't have a blender? No, thanks. I was talking about up and down. Okay, I see what you're saying, but I was thinking a blender. No. I'm just messing with you. Go ahead.
Bad word on my part. He thought there was an extra cutting potential. He's completely mistaken. The blades are loose. They're not moving around. They're hung in there. Just take a mechanical broadhead, deploy it, shove it into foam, and wiggle the shaft. You tell me the blades are moving.
Oh, you're right. There's no way.
The shaft is moving, but the blades aren't moving. If that is your theory, you want a fixed blade.
Right.
Because it will move. Mm-hmm. That's a terrible lethality concept. So I got frustrated.
You've already enlightened me on this podcast.
Oh, it's going to get worse. Okay, so it's going to get way worse. So, and then you and I might not agree. So
I think we're going to agree about a lot of things. Go ahead.
So I got frustrated because I'm 17. I'm at a known distance. I'm at a deer feeder. This pig that I've been after 10 hunts has finally. I think they have a mental checklist before they come in. They got the wind right. They got this. They got that. They think they're not dying that day. When you finally get one and you've done it, when they finally get there, they're confident.
Yeah.
They're not spooky at all. They have checked the boxes and they're saying, "I'm not dying today.
Yep.
I'm here," and they usually run everything else off. So he's got no help.
This is all true, folks. If you've
He's got
never
no-
hunted hogs before, he's speaking the truth.
And so he's got no help around him in the perimeter, like having does around a buck. And you just let him amble around the feeder till he gives you the shot and you smash him. Well, I wouldn't get no. And I was just like, okay, so what else is there? So I am on a marketing curve of new products. There are 2% Elon Musk, serious entrepreneurs, people like that who are just doing
High end, yeah.
and they're
high-end
going.
hunters.
They're going. Like they could just be, that could be somebody who makes the newest trash can that's awesome, but the way their head works, that we're making the best trash can. And I don't care what barriers are in the way. Once you launch, you grab about 10% of the population as early adopters and they'll try it. That group of people sells the product by posting and all that stuff.
Right.
I'm an early adopter. I'm always asking why. And I said, why am I 50%? I've tried everything.
Why am I not like more
lethal?
More lethal. Okay.
It's frustrating. I spent a lot of time trying to
Well,
get this.
sure. I mean, it's just like going 12 days on a sheep hunt, and and really for people that spend $50,000 to go kill a wild sheep that they don't draw a tag,
And they don't get it, or they don't get it.
and
Right?
they can't recover their animal, and then up in Alaska and places like that where you knowingly leave the meat and that kind of stuff. Even a wild sheep or a bear or anything like that, it's wanton waste. And a lot of people don't realize Canadian laws are similar to that too. So like, it's a whole lot better. You pack that stuff out.
Right.
I mean,
so
all the way around.
I have guns and I can shoot them with a gun and they will die. I would shoot them in the head with a 44 Magnum lever gun and they flop over every damn time.
Yep.
So I just said, what else is out there? This is like 2010, 11. This is dial-up internet, not what we have now. And I found Dr. Ed Ashby's Natal study. It's a 30-year arrow lethality study, 5,000 recorded shots on animals.
That's a lot of data, man.
113 data points per shot. No Excel.
Oh, wow.
This is pre-Excel. We've got his original files.
You've got data, but they're hard copy?
It's hard copy.
Oh, man.
We have a ring biter this thick. That's the original study.
Right.
And he started taking shaft, arrow flight.
Everything into
How
consideration.
heavy is the front is. What
It's
kind
a
of
math
broadheads-
equation, yeah.
And he came up with 12 factors for the highest performance arrow
12
system.
factors, cool.
Okay. And I said, I don't have any reason not to do this. So I built an arrow like Ed prescribed. So that is 4 to center, above 19%.
Yep.
Lots of mass up front. A 3 inch long broadhead that's 1 inch wide, single bevel.
It's 11:11. Do you see that? Hold on, I got to take a picture. Hold on. Let me just take a picture of your. Well, hold on. I can just put this up. Same on mine. Those are angel numbers, friends. Okay.
Perfect.
They show up to me 3 or 4 times every day.
Perfect.
I guess that shows that I'm enlightened. They send me
Theoretically, it can
signs.
only happen twice a day, but
Well, other 333, 222, it can happen multiple times if it's when it's brought to your awareness when you see it. All right, go ahead, continue. I didn't mean to derail.
So I'm still shooting a 430 grain arrow that's going 280, and I'm shooting a 670 grain arrow, perfectly bare shaft tuned, fletched with feathers so that the mass is more forward, and it looks like I can run faster than it's flying. And I'm still not convinced. I'm completely indoctrinated by the industry standard and all the marketing bull crap.
all the marketing that is
Speed
full to
fixes
you.
everything.
Our broadhead's better than the other broadheads.
So probably in the first 50 videos on my channel, I shot a 230-pound boar with a Schwacker. I had the big arrow. And
I shot Schwackers.
I was not convinced.
Yeah.
17 yards, 400 spine arrow, 70 pounds.
How many feet per second?
280.
Okay. Still pretty fast for back then, yeah.
It stopped when it hit him, hit the feeder leg and flew out of him, and the thing was bent. I hit him right above the elbow.
Did it open, or was just the little wings on that particular broadhead bent?
I think on that pig, he was so thick that the idea of the swacker is that it gets behind the rib cage. I don't think it ever got there.
And then but
he was 3 inches thick to break his rib cage, so I think it spread out and pitchforked.
Yeah, but that's the thing. So I'm just going to relate real quick. When I use that particular broadhead on a pig hunt, one reason I switched to Grim Reapers has nothing to do with one brand over the other, just performance for me in the field is I spine shot one time, and I was trying to put another arrow just for the TV show and everything like that, and just to get them dead before I go on approach. And it was it was like a sow or something like that, maybe 70 pounds. And the thing is, I shot a swacker into kind of the upper. I guess it was laying towards me, so it was kind of the backstrap or whatever, and it entered and just it didn't expand, how they get like that. So just the little wings that are supposed to open it bent. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, well, maybe not that. I'm not talking about a brand specifically, but that style of broadhead. There's others like it or whatever. Maybe that's not the answer as far as that can happen. And that's why I went with the open from the front, style broadhead instead of open from the side, so anyway, keep talking.
So I said, okay. And it bounced off. It basically bounced. For all practical purposes, went 2 inches in. I got the shaft back. The broadhead's bent. All it hit was the pig. And I said, okay, I guess I got to hunt with the big boy arrow.
All right.
And I just, all these years that speed fixes everything, I couldn't shake it. Mm-hmm. I said, well, I got nothing to lose. 2 weeks later, I go to the same stand. The same pig shows up.
Oh my gosh, his wound was healing, huh?
And I smashed him. It buried all the way to the fletch. I did not have a perfectly tuned arrow, I found out. Mm-hmm. And he went 60 yards and rolled up. He was done.
Yeah, he was smoked.
So now that I've gotten, and I have a ton of videos on my channel about how to get perfect arrow flight, but now that I've gotten, so my base platform now is 630 grains, 250 spine, 22% forward to center, 200 grain single bevel broadhead that's one piece steel. Mm-hmm. And when I shoot pigs like that now, it goes 20 yards past them.
Because it's tuned right.
Well, it's also got a lot of mass, got a lot of momentum.
Does it have all 12 components that the researcher studied? Mm. You've got it fine-tuned in that respect. I know there's such a thing, tune a bow, tune a cross, but I'm like, when you hunt with the right fletch, the right arrow, the right knock, it all goes together. It doesn't matter what equipment you have. The right equipment is the best equipment.
But we got on the conversation of sharp. And so the broadhead I'm shooting is actually my broadhead. It's the Ranch Fair broadhead. And we have a website it's Sirius for all my arrows and stuff. I couldn't learn about sharp until I failed enough and got something that was sharp.
Okay.
And now I have a broadhead that is one piece, machined, and I've got a tool that I use to sharpen it, and then I strop them, and the hair
is it strop or strope?
Strop.
Strop.
Leather strop.
I've been saying it wrong this whole time, ladies and gentlemen.
And the hairs don't fall on the blade; they jump. Mm-hmm. You could shave your face, and that is an artwork. That's something you got to learn.
Holy smokes!
You've got to wanna do that. Mm-hmm. I no broadhead. I'm also sponsored by Magnus, and when they send me broadheads, I strop all of them.
Mm-hmm. So stropping the blade, because that's already a razor blade that's in a broadhead blade, supposedly. Mm-hmm. But stropping the blades before you really get hunting. Into it, before you go hunting. That's like shooting to kill. Like I always talk about, practicing with the ammunition you're going to go actually shoot something with.
And you got to shoot broadheads.
It's the same deal.
Yeah.
But the thing is, don't use the broadheads without sharpening and stroping them after you've shot them into like an 18-on-1, a Reinhardt.
Oh, I know people.
And that's the thing, like shooting a mechanical. This is just general things, but common sense isn't common anymore, man. When you shoot into foam or anything, like you were talking about a foam, any kind of foam, like a 3D animal, and I had a couple in my backyard, and I've got a target out there still in my old backyard that my son uses, and like. It's those 18-on-1s, whatever. All they do is self-heal the foam. What do you think they're doing to your blade? Like, you don't have a sharp blade anymore after you've shot that. You got to sharpen, and then, like you're saying, hone.
I have a saying about edges. They either stay in static state or they erode, but they don't get sharper.
That's good. They don't get sharper on their own, yeah.
They don't get sharper on their own. They don't get sharper in the air,
point.
and they sure as hell don't get sharper at impact.
So does time affect sharpening? So let's say you haven't bow hunted in 2 years. Do you need to sharpen your broadheads?
I check them every time.
And then strobe.
I take a piece of paper. The next time you get a U-line catalog,
Oh, I've got plenty of those.
put them on your desk and rip a piece of paper out and hold it on its edge. And if it will not just cut the paper like...
How are you running it? Like across the broadhead? Like the broadhead across it? Okay.
Just cut it like you're cutting, but just have the broadhead on a shaft.
Okay.
And if it won't cut the paper like that, it's not ready to go. That's just what I've learned to get it there.
The sharpness gets it a better pass through is one of the things that you're talking about.
Well, there's multiple things there.
I'm sure. Let's go.
So one is that particular style of broadhead made out of steel, one piece, great steel, doesn't erode. We shot one through the head of a pig last year sideways, and it shaved after that.
Holy smokes, that's sharp.
I was shocked. We did it on video, and I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. Right, it's my broadhead, my brand. If it looks terrible, I'm like, ooh, you look like an idiot, right? I was like, it's still shaving. It was grabbing a little bit, but it cut paper nice.
That's still impressive. And what did you shoot it through again?
This feral hog sideways.
What size? What size?
About 140 pounder. But we shot him right behind the eyes,
Yeah.
and it passed through. I had to catch it on a target,
Holy smokes.
and
That's a lot to get through.
it's a lot of pop.
It's a lot of pop.
So,
Indeed. Can't stop the pop. Can't stop the flop either.
so when you go to, like, I would assume this audience is 95% whitetails and some pig hunters, since it's Texas
I
deer.
mean, you got some saltwater fishermen, but you've got people that know hunting here, and you have hunters from all over the world, and just people from all the world listen to this one.
So, as my brand evolves and you start to see the stuff you've done and you're looking in the rearview mirror, anything under 200 pounds, if you can't shoot through it on a regular basis, you have a problem. Because what scares me is people hunt deer, they draw a tag for elk, and they just don't change anything. You have just taken, you go up to, say, a 200 pounds, a pretty big deer, and you shoot those, and half the time you get a pass through and half the time you don't. Now you're going to go shoot a 700-pound bull, most likely to be quartered to because you're calling, with an arrow that doesn't penetrate a whitetail like he is invisible, and you just tripled the animal size. Does that, tell me if that sounds like an insane, logical question.
I'm understanding, yeah.
So then I've also asked, and I've been on a lot of podcasts with people, and I say, okay, who tell me I'm wrong. Like, I get a lot of smoke.
Oh, I'm sure. They're like, let me school you some data.
I'm so off the rails, right?
I love that about you. You're a great guest so far.
I've got lab radar data on momentum out to 60 yards. I've got...
He's done the research, so you don't have to, you know?
Right, because I wanted to know. So
Curiosity.
Let me back in. Here's what happened to me. So I talked about the pig I shot with the arrow that was one spine under spine, not perfect arrow flight, and I smashed him. And I went, why?
Yep.
Most people would just go like this, pump their arms, and start talking trash. My head's like, that arrow looks like I could run and catch it out of the air. How come it did that? And then I got introduced to a bunch of engineers. They said, well, you need to do lab radar data, you need to do drop data, you need to do all this stuff, right? So I started doing all these super scientific things, kinetic energy, momentum, and then out to 60 yards. And the mass, the heavy projectile, so just to give you some context, my data set is 7 arrows from 388 grains going 292 to 715 grains, which is my adult hunting arrows for nail guy and stuff, going 230 at launch. Okay? These 713, no, we're not even going to go there. The 514 grain arrow has more momentum at 60 yards than the 388 grain arrow has at the bow.
Wow.
It's fast, but it's super light. Now you shoot at 60, and it's 22% more momentum at 60 at impact. It's like arguing 6.5 or 300 Win Mag for Western game.
Yeah.
You can do it with a 6.5.
Yeah, but it's
But
better.
the 300 Win Mag
Yeah,
is
it's going to
pretty solid.
We know that even with a marginal shot, that would be a better choice than precision placement, because even long range, like I remember the days when the TV shows were coming out about the 1,000-yard elk hunters, right? And I was like, so much can happen.
A lot.
In 1,000 yards. And I never understood. I know everything was going to extremes there for a while, and still is in a lot of ways, about trying to outdo the next show.
Well, it gets a lot of clicks. Extreme.
That's the thing. You get the press, you get the viewers, and that's what pays for the sponsorship. And guys, that's the way TV shows work. Like the way TV shows work, a lot of people don't even realize that, like, you have to pay to be on TV for the most part.
100%.
Network thing, you got to pay for your own camera, and it's paid for a lot of times by a bunch of sponsors. And there's one particular person I will not mention, except for in the in privacy here, that's very arrogant. He hunts pigs. Okay, he's a man, and he's very, very, very arrogant about his. You know what I'm talking about, right? All right. So, but the thing is, like, he burns through sponsors every single year. And I'm sitting there going, holy.
There's not that many.
I'm just like, the outdoor industry, news gets around really quick.
Yeah,
and that's the thing. And so he had new sponsors. All the sponsors, they just, they weren't. No, they dropped you. You didn't drop them, Right. And so my point is, okay, TV shows are financed by sponsors for the most part. You have to pay for network time. If you ever seen anything on the Outdoor Channel, either they paid for it or it was a $250,000 spend to get a quarter time on there in My Outdoor TV. All right, Carbon TV pays for it with ad sponsor, but you still have to come up with your own.
There's no other way for them to do it.
Right, but the whole point is, creators like me, I don't need a big sponsor budget, because I'm out there using either video from the past of other creators. I make my Hogger Boys is more of like an outdoor variety show that has bow fishing, Florida Keys, saltwater fishing, all the way to hill country hog hunting and deer hunting. Like I say, so it's me from the past. It's other people that have had other content that I put out there. But what I'm saying is, it's just me producing it. It doesn't cost me anything to do it. It's a hobby for me. But like I say, most TV shows, it's all about the spend. It's all about how much ad money you're getting in to pay for the darn thing. That's where I was going with that.
Yeah, no, it's a tough way to make a living.
A lot of people don't understand that, and I just want to explain how media works when it comes to,
right.
to
and then
hunting
you have
shows,
fishing
shows.
So then you come out of that, and to run companies, you have to do marketing, and whether your marketing or product or anything is actually tested in any valid way whatsoever doesn't exist. They don't have the budget.
No.
Let me back up.
The R&D budget alone.
They don't want to do it.
They don't want to spend the money.
They're going to find out.
They already think they're the best. They all do.
Well, they have to. And then
that's what gets them to work every day. That's what gets them,
Well, it's one of my. I've got like a justice gene or something, and I can't.
Justice.
I can't accept blatant statements.
Yeah.
There was one company that says that their broadhead creates a sucking chest wound, which every broadhead does, and then they said it also has some kind of a hydrostatic shock. And I can't take that. The FBI proved in testing that does not occur till 2,300 feet per second.
Which you're not talking about a broadhead at that point. You're talking a
we're
firearm.
about 9 times higher than a bow flight. So it doesn't exist, but they put it in their marketing literature.
It sounds good.
Right.
Hey, it's like, how many fishing baits have caught more fishermen than fish?
Oh, most of them.
You ever think about that? That's the thing. The best bass lure that whoever says is going around, the best catfish bait, all these kind of things. It's just like, okay, how many of you got hooked, and then all of a sudden you've got a whole pile of crap in your garage or shed that is all fishing gear that you bought you never used?
So my brand is, am continuing to press and push.
I love this.
Ed lives in Rock Springs, and he's so cool to talk to.
That's like the Axis capital for at least a while.
He had a deer lease with Pearson and Bear. Like, he's old school. He's one of the last of a generation.
Yeah, I was about to say that's the last of the Mohicans right there.
He says, Troy, I was never concerned what the arrow did to the animal. I'm concerned about what the animal does to the arrow.
Oh, see, a lot of us have never thought of that. I don't know how many of us have ever thought of that.
Think about the sharpness thing.
No.
Think about the sharpness thing, right? The animal is eating the blades.
Yep.
The animal's eating the blades. And I cannot 100% prove. If I could get the ones I lost, you could find out why. You can't.
Well, the ones you lost, a lot of times did not even have a pass through, right?
No.
Or they ran away with the arrow inside of them. And I, like a lot of hunters, one of my TV show, brands that I represent is Luminoc. They were the originator. I know Jim Crane.
Oh, I love those guys.
I've seen them at SHOT Show. Again, and then Nocturnal and all these other brands came out after them. But the thing is, they were the originators. Jim Crane was one of the original, people that started that whole thing. But it's good for videoing especially, but really it's good for, having a lighted arrow nock of some kind helps me at least determine if it ran off with it or where the arrow landed so I can find it in the dark.
I'll tell you what, I'm a pass-through guy, right? But if you shoot from an elevated stand, pigs have no legs, and you often hit the dirt with the broadhead, and it doesn't pass through, but it would have.
Yeah.
Shooting on the ground, I pass them all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But when I'm 8 to 10 feet high in a tripod, their legs are so short that it'll hit the dirt and stop it, and it's in them, right? Not ideal, and not what I said. We want them.
So it would hit the dirt, and I see what you're saying. I was thinking it hits the dirt before impact, it bounces up and hits them. I've seen that before.
It fully penetrates the pig,
everywhere.
And the broadhead hits the dirt.
Yeah,
we have our ranch is sandy.
And then correct, it hits sand or rock or shale or whatever else is there and stops. But then, you can't tell immediately after it passed through. Because
they'll leave with it.
It's running. Yeah, they'll leave with it. But I'm saying, if you get a pass through, you also have debris on the other side. It's going to hit some kind of natural environmental, ground.
So I actually, on my Luminox, because this happens so often out of an elevated position, you can't go through the earth. Okay. I actually take I cut electric tape in half. I only shoot Luminox, and the only reason I shoot Luminox is because they're the only company that uses stock nocks. And changing a nock is a huge deal for
them. Yeah, and it's stock nocks for different bows and crossbows. So, for instance, I use a half moon nock because I'm shooting Barnett crossbows. They always send me a crossbow every once in a while, and then then I'm using gold tip, and I'm making sure I use a gold tip nock for either the bolt or the half moon for the bolt, and then for the actual arrow, making sure that you use a G nock. I believe that's what Luminoc calls those. And then, whatever arrow, if you're shooting Eastons or, whatever else. But like I say, Luminoc usually makes, something that for whatever arrow is out there. If you're shooting Black Eagle or whoever's out there.
Get your Luminoc, and then what I do is, because I have so many times where, in this case, the broadhead hits the dirt, they leave with it. I put a piece, I push it in, get it lit up.
Yep.
I wrap electric tape around it. It's relatively elastic.
Yep.
And I pull it back. And what I've learned is that tape has just enough elasticity that it'll stay lit when they're running.
Oh.
And then in the dark, you just walk in the woods and look for the shiny thing, and you find your pig.
You taught me something new, a little hack for bow hunting. I love this. This is great.
It works great. And that's only because if I was on the ground, that arrow would go 30 yards past them, or 20, right? But you're elevated. They don't have legs. You can't beat that. You can't go through the earth. So I said, okay, I'm going to try to find a way to make sure that thing stays lit.
Yeah.
Because it's shaking and getting beat on bushes and stuff.
Sure.
No knock's going to survive that.
Right.
But that little piece of electric tape, so push it in, electric tape it, and then pull it till it's off. And then that elasticity will pull it and gives it a shock absorber.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many we've found at night. Shoot them, wait like 20 minutes, and then we walk out in the woods and turn the lights off and stand there. And all of a sudden your eyes adjust and you go, oh.
Holy smokes.
See the shiny thing?
Uh-huh.
Let's go there first.
Let's go look at that spot
so
first.
It could be the back of the arrow, but you're starting where you know he was.
Yeah.
And then you can go from there. Or it's usually in the pig. And that's just, it's way less work.
Even if you, again, I know a lot of gun-only hunters listen, firearm hunters, whatever, but if you really listen to what this guy is saying, like this, I have bow hunted for 20 years on and off, and I've never looked at the micro. I've only looked at the macro. Was a lot of people, same deal. They don't look at the science behind something. They look at what's been sold to them on marketing about this product being better. And in marketing, since I run a marketing agency, we call it USPs, 3 or 4 points that set you aside from the herd, that set you head and shoulders above everybody else. And that's what I do with companies, whether it's product or service companies, with my business with Dustin.com. I come in there and I say, what are your 3 things that set you apart? So they hear the marketing, They get whatever's out of the box and they use it. They don't know the science behind how it actually works.
That's why I'll never have a big brand.
I get it. And really, but the thing is, you've got employees and everything else, and you've got pro staff, and everything else becomes like in background noise to, well, this is what that guy shoots on TV. So again, the influence of marketing in the digital age, especially, we're fed, I don't know how many ads or how many, every day on social media, on Facebook, on wherever you are. You can't get rid of the ads on Facebook. You can buy ads on Facebook, can't get rid of seeing them. Sponsor promoted stuff wherever you go. That's the way the bills are paid for. So what I'm saying is that you don't look at the micro. We look at the macro from up here, being that that's what I should believe because that's all I know. Like there's a difference between all I know and whatever, like the micro underneath all I know. And that's what you have discovered, like in all your research. And this is so fascinating.
That's why I have to accept that
this is so fascinating.
I will never be accepted. Because I'm not asking what I can sell you. I'm asking how can I make the average bow hunter who gets to hunt 10 or 15 times a year with 3 kids lethal?
Yeah.
How can I increase the possibility that a person who does not get to practice 10 arrows a day and do cold shots on the internet, they have to coach baseball and be employed and stuff.
Yep.
And they practice enough to be lethal. How do I help them? I was on a podcast with a kid the other day. At 57, I can say that about 20-year-olds. So
I'm 46. I'm not far behind you, Bubba.
Right. So he said, you know what? I was a golfer in college. He goes, what you're talking about is forgiveness.
Yep.
He said, in golf, you always have bad days, and you want a day where
like
your clubs,
bowling kind of thing.
Your clubs are more forgiving.
And
on those days, he said, what you're talking about is an arrow system that allows you to either hit a humerus bone, break a scapula,
right,
and be forgiving, not perfect.
Well, and that's the thing. We talk about tuning bows like we were talking about earlier in this episode. We're talking about tuning bows, and we forget about tuning the arrow to be lethal.
Oh, dude, it is
that's a whole science in and of itself. But everybody focuses on the equipment that shoots the arrow more than they focus on the arrow itself. Now, I know about weight. Like, I've shot 100 grain versus 125 grain versus 145 grain, right? I've shot everything. But, like you, maybe not as many or as much as you have. But like I said, I know building an arrow, having the right grain broadhead. I used to shoot 125 grain in a crossbow bolt versus a bow hunting arrow of 100 grain, right? That, again, I came from the old school when all this stuff was still evolving into the shit show that it is today. The fact that, it's all smoke and mirrors. It's all bread and circuses.
I'll tell you if you want to go down the rabbit hole.
Let's go.
Cut the fleshings off your arrows and shoot them bare shaft.
Bare shaft.
7 yards. And when you get them to shoot a bullet hole, it looks like you shot it with a rifle. Your accuracy will go through the freaking roof.
Yeah. And that's not paper tuning the fletchings at that point, because there are no fletchings. You're trying to do a one-hole deal.
If you can
Let's do it at 100 yards.
Well,
with a crossbow or a compound.
That's where the wind and all that gets you
I'm messing
out
with
there.
you.
No, you're fine. But if you can, so the reason why you bare shaft, and this is another reason why I'll never have a gigantic brand, because I constantly preach go to bare shaft. And that exposes shooting flaws, it exposes the bow, it exposes the strings you haven't changed in the last 2 years, the fact that the cams got out of sync over time. You dropped it out of 3 trees and didn't mention it. And you think the arrow's flight is the arrow. But the goal of a 7-yard bare shaft, perfect tune, is perfect launch. The minute the arrow leaves the string, your fate is sealed. You can't steer it. You don't have a joystick. You don't have a drone arrow. You're done. If it launches a little sideways and the wind's blowing 20 from the right,
You're off.
You missed by 6 inches. And it's on a deer.
And it could be on the deer of a lifetime.
And you're going to blame the broadhead. You're going to blame a lot of things.
Everything but yourself.
Don't hang on, everybody. It's not. This is new information. Okay, so what you want is your shaft coming off, bare shaft, 7 yards through paper, perfect. When you add fletchings, you've just added a incredible amount of forgiveness because they will adjust when there's mistakes.
Okay, that's the handicap forgiveness, whatever you want to call
That's
it.
the handicap.
Handicap. Okay. All right. Like in bowling, that's what I was bringing up earlier. A handicap is like forgiveness in bowling, like how we talk about a handicap, or what do they call it? Like a mulligan in golf. That's the true forgiveness of a whole shot.
That's correct. So put yourself in your hunting situation. You've been shooting all summer 3D and flip-flops, smoking cigarettes with the boys. And now it's 29 degrees. You're out of little dubbies. You got to piss. And here he comes. Mm-hmm. And he's out the left-hand window. There's 2 does over here that kind of figured out you're in there.
Yep. And they're getting ready to blow. They're getting ready to snort.
You've put the corn out, and you've got a rock out there that's 20 yards. So that's all fixed.
That's going to be dead on at 20 yards.
Except your knees are facing to the right because that's the way right-handed people sit.
Yep.
And you're shooting out the left-handed window with your body torqued. You haven't practiced that. The geometry of the whole bow has now changed.
Yes.
Your anchor point's not in the same place.
You're right.
The string is bent differently.
Yep. All that has changed, and you're expecting
forgiveness. And you have a shitty arrow that you did not bare shaft, and your torque's a little different. Mm-hmm. And so you send it. It's 3 inches off, and he moves.
Yep.
It's 6 inches off. The game just changed. You had no forgiveness.
It is not just changed. It's overturned. The thing is, you went from one scenario of conditions. And again, I'm talking real world environmental conditions. You as a human, we are a different person every day. Okay. We wake up feeling normal, but there's a new normal.
You could have the flu coming on.
You could have a cold, a flu, anything like that.
Some of you might be hungover.
I was just going to say that. One of you one of you sitting in the blind may have had a little bit much to drink at the hunting camp the night before or at the bar down the road, and you're showing up, or you have a stone over or whatever, okay? Right. And you're not 100% is what I'm trying to get to, all right?
And you're a little stressed, and you're excited.
And then all of a sudden, your adrenaline gland kicks in. Your adrenal gland kicks in.
Remember, your bladder's full.
Your bladder's full. Oh,
and there he is, right?
And it's now or never.
That's happened to everybody.
Oh, so I can't count.
The industry message is always you need perfect shot placement, and I don't disagree. A 650 grain arrow with a single bevel broadhead on a perfect hit works just as good as everything else. Yep. But should you pull a shot? Should that deer move, and he brings a bone into the shot line that you were not intending to hit? I can put some wood to it.
And you have the difference between a shot that hits the heart and, let's say, a shot that hits the femur, or the shot that hits the shoulder, right into the shoulder.
Just because of circumstance.
And your goal here, just like you hunting big hogs, to test this stuff, okay? Mm-hmm. You've got shields with the bores. Mm-hmm. You even have some kind of form of a growth on that shoulder from a sow. There's the ones that I butchered, and I don't remember how many hundreds I butchered, but it's a bunch. And so I even a gilt was what we got. That's all we could that Paul was able to shoot on his hog hunt that I guided him on in the hill country earlier this week. That's one reason why I probably sound so tired, because I've been running 90 to nothing. Probably traveled 500 miles this week already. But the thing is, like, I was cleaning that by the pig station, and they feed the entrails to the farm pigs, like the pigs there. Chester came up with a name that they called them, listeners of the show will appreciate this, African spotted pigs, which are they like calico-looking pigs. So instead of calling them a piebald hog, they were called African spotted pigs to him. And these were domesticated like pot-belly pigs and stuff. Mm-hmm. They were waiting for me for them guts. Mm-hmm. There's stories out at this ranch, the Wonderful Life Ranch, in between Fredericksburg and Llano on FM 2323, all right? This one guy, I haven't told this story on this podcast yet, I think, shot 21 raccoons one night out of the trees that were just resting up there, mm-hmm. all right? And there was a competition between the hogs and the coyotes that came up from each side of the creek, the dry creek bed, to fight over who got the raccoon, and the winner got the spoils. Mm-hmm. You know, the vicar of the bray gets the spoils. Mm-hmm. And he said when he was done, there was nothing on the ground but some blood.
Sure.
He said, I was just like, and
Nature's pretty efficient.
Chester doesn't believe me 100% that the raccoons out there are like part grizzly bear and part coon. They are fatter than a fat coon if you've ever seen a fat coon. And that was the first thing I ever killed with a rifle was a coon. And it was like the fattest I thought. I cleaned it, and I had a deal back then, folks, where I cleaned it and I ate it. All right, I'm just saying, I'll only eat raccoon one time in my life, and that time has passed. But I'm just saying, possum, Nutriella, Cajuns love some of the varmints out there. But and so do a lot of other people around the world. Heck, the Asians. I remember one time walking into a Walmart, I saw carp.
Sure.
In the freezer or in the cold case for $4 a pound. I was like, man, I could make $1 million with as many as I shoot with a bow.
We used to shoot them with a bow and give them to a guy.
Yeah, I am big into bow fishing too. So, by the way, Garquest.com, Marty McIntyre, he's been on the show before. Unfortunately, all the tilapia are gone because of the Obama's administration shut down all the coal-burning power plants in Calaveras, Brawning, Trading House, all these lakes that you and I are probably familiar with in Texas that were water-cooled, where the tilapia got off a trot line or whatever and spawned, and they like the warm water because they're from South America originally, and it's a warm area closer to the equator.
They make big bass. Mm-hmm. They make big bass. Mm-hmm. All those tilapia lakes have huge fish in them.
And that's the thing, like Dunlap, the lake I used to grow up fishing with, it's one thing I love to do with my son still, is just go perch jerking. My dad did it when I was a kid, all growing up. He had just gotten a divorce from his second wife and was living with his parents, and we would go down to sit on a little empty dock, like at some abandoned place on Lake Dunlap, which is on the, not McQueenie, on the
southeastern side of Austin.
Yeah, southeastern side of Austin. So it's on, but close to my hometown of New Braunfels. It's just out of the city limits. They lived on 2 acres, now 4 acres. We would shoot air guns in the backyard and go jerk perch. Still do it with my son. Give me a big old thing of worms and go out there. And I'm like, that is the wild inside of us coming out. The fact that just we're passing that generation on
100%
to other hunters. And that's a beauty of a show like this. My gosh, we've already gone almost an hour. I guess it's time for Chester and I to do. Mm-hmm. You've been such a great guest. Thank you. I've learned so much from you, Mr. Fowler. Yeah. Thank you. Tell people how to find you.
By a litany of randomness and non-planning, my name is The Ranch Fairy. And
The Ranch Fairy, folks.
So you can find me on YouTube. That's my primary platform. I'm on Instagram. Please, follow there. I have a ton of, if you're interested in bow hunting and interested in creating a super lethal, non-stopping death machine coming off your bow or crossbow, actually. Yeah. I have all the research and all that stuff, and then this year I am primarily focusing on arrow flight. It is so detailed. I'm going to spend the whole year talking about how to get arrows to fly.
I love this. We got to get together and hunt together sometime at some point, or fish, or whatever you want to do. I mean, you're right down the road from me. You're probably 20 minutes away from where I live out in the country.
Yeah, we need to get together.
You're the man, bro.
Yeah, thank you.
Anything else?
No, that's good.
Thanks a lot for joining us on this show.
Thanks for having me on.
All right, I appreciate you.